April 25, 2024, News Report 1. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Shanghai Communist Party Secretary Li Ying in Datesh on the morning of April 25. Li Ying stated that American companies are very important to Shanghai and emphasized that the relationship between China and the United States is one of the most important bilateral relationships in the world today. He emphasized that whether the two countries choose cooperation or confrontation is related to the well-being of the people of both countries and the future of humanity. Blinken requested that China provide a fair competition environment for American companies and emphasized that both China and the United States have an obligation to responsibly manage their relationship. He raised existing differences and called for solutions. Blinken believes that direct communication between the U.S. and China is very necessary, and the two countries should seek common ground while reserving differences and seek space for cooperation. State Department spokesman Ned Price said Blinken expressed concerns to Li Ying about China's overcapacity and non-market economic practices. During the Foreign Ministry's routine press conference on April 25, a Bloomberg reporter asked about Blinken's concerns about unfair trade practices. Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said that China hopes the U.S. will genuinely respect the principle of fair competition and abide by the rules of the World Organization. Ministry of Commerce spokesman He Yudong said at the press conference that it is unreasonable for some Western countries to frequently accuse China of overcapacity, and China resolutely opposes it but has not taken retaliatory measures. Blinken's visit this time was both neglectful and tough for China. In addition, after the meeting between Blinken and Li Ying, they went to Shanghai New York University to have a discussion with 25 American and Chinese students. Shanghai New York University is the first Sino-U.S. cooperative university founded by East China Normal University and New York University, and it is also the third campus of New York University to confer degrees. Blinken said that the relationship between the United States and China is one of the most important and complex relationships in the world, and allowing American students to study in China and Chinese students to study in the United States allows them to understand each other, ensuring mutual understanding between the two countries and effectively avoiding communication barriers and misunderstandings. The tension in U.S.-China relations and the three-year blockade have led to a decrease in the number of U.S. students studying in China from a peak of more than 25,000 to 700 last year. On the afternoon of April 25, Blinken arrived in Beijing and will hold talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, and may also meet with Xi Jinping. So far, the Chinese government has not announced any arrangements, usually waiting until the last minute to do so. When Blinken visited China last June, Xi Jinping also met with him at the last minute before the visit ended. The meeting is highly anticipated, and everyone hopes it will proceed smoothly. News Report 2. According to Politico, on April 24, 7 U.S. solar manufacturers submitted a petition to the U.S. government, requesting action against China's dumping of solar products through 4 Southeast Asian countries. These companies are asking the U.S. government to impose tariffs of up to 271% on solar products from Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam, in response to last year's record $12.5 billion imports of solar components to the U.S. from these Southeast Asian countries. This situation has led to a price drop of more than half for solar components, threatening the survival of the U.S. solar manufacturing industry. If the U.S. Department of Commerce initiates an investigation, preliminary action is expected to be taken this fall. News Report 3. Reuters reported that satellite images analyzed by the UK Royal United Services Institute showed that the Russian cargo ship Angara recently docked in Zhoushan, Zhejiang Province, China. Since August last year, Angara has been shuttling between North Korea and Russia, transporting thousands of containers filled with weapons. In January this year, Angara completed its final mission to transport weapons from North Korea to Russia, and then docked at Xinya Shipyard in Zhoushan City in February, which is China's largest private shipyard. The report pointed out that the U.S. imposed sanctions on Anjara last August, and the U.S. State Department has queried China, asking countries to register ships involved in illegal activities according to UN resolutions. This report once again confirms the fact that China and North Korea provide military or industrial support to Russia. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Blinken is visiting China, with one of the important topics being to urge China to stop assisting Russia's military industry. News Report 4. The U.S. Senate voted on April 23 to pass a package of aid, including $26 billion in aid to Israel. U.S. President Biden signed the bill on April 24. This package means that the two parties in the U.S. have reached a consensus on issues such as Israel and Ukraine, indicating that helping Israel and Ukraine has become U.S. policy. With this decision, Israel quickly launched its most intense attacks on the Gaza Strip in weeks. The Israeli military launched dozens of airstrikes in central and northern Gaza, targeting Hamas buildings and rocket launch sites. An Israeli military spokesman requested residents of 4 northern areas of Gaza to evacuate to 2 designated areas nearby, as the Israeli military will launch attacks on these areas. According to Israeli media reports, the Israeli military plans to gradually send troops into the Rafah area, mainly to attack the hiding places of Hamas leaders. In addition to the attacks on Gaza, Israel has also intensified its attacks on southern Lebanon. On April 23, the Israeli military announced that it had killed 2 important members of the Lebanese Hezbollah party. On the 24th, the Israeli Air Force and artillery attacked 40 targets of the Lebanese Hezbollah party, killing half of the organization's leaders in Lebanon. These actions show Israel's tough stance on neighboring areas after receiving U.S. aid. News Report 5. Taiwan's President-elect Lai Ching-te held a press conference on April 25 to announce the personnel arrangements for the new national security team. According to the list, the Secretary-General of the Presidential Palace will be Pan Mengan, the Secretary-General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be Lin Chialung, the Minister of National Defense will be Gu Lixiong, the Secretary-General of the National Security Council will be Wu Zhaoxian, the Mainland Affairs Council Chairman will be Chiu Chuezheng. The Mainland Affairs Council Chairman will be Zheng Wencan, the retired House Committee Chairman will be Yen Defa, and the National Security Bureau Director will continue to be Kai Mingyan. Lai Ching-te stated that the new national security team faces unprecedented challenges, requiring cross-disciplinary expertise and experience, immediate and seamless integration, to promote Taiwan's steady progress. Taiwanese political scholar Nan Lu pointed out that during Gu Lixiong's tenure as Secretary-General of the National Security Council, he vigorously promoted the reform of Taiwan's military and led the team to attend the Taiwan-US Montreux Conference for 2 consecutive years, gaining high international trust. In addition, the Taiwan Public Opinion Foundation announced on April 25 the results of a satisfaction survey on President Tsai Ing-wen's 8 years in office, showing an overall satisfaction rate of 50.1% and a dissatisfaction rate of 45.1%. On the issue of cross-strait relations, the satisfaction rate was 45.4% and the dissatisfaction rate was 48.1%. On diplomatic issues, the satisfaction rate was 48.5% and the dissatisfaction rate was 46.3%. On economic issues, the satisfaction rate was 46% and the dissatisfaction rate was 49.9%. On defense issues, the satisfaction rate was 52% and the dissatisfaction rate was 42.3%. The satisfaction rate for the Kuomintang's return of party assets was 51.7%, and the dissatisfaction rate was 36.2%. The satisfaction rate for the military and civil servants' pension reform was 50%, and the dissatisfaction rate was 35.8%. The satisfaction rate for judicial reform was 35.6%, and the dissatisfaction rate was 54.6%. Overall, Tsai Ing-wen's administration has received quite satisfactory evaluations. News Report 6. Taiwanese online forum, Taiwan Forum, posted on Facebook on April 24 to remind Taiwanese people to avoid using interactive platforms such as Douyin, TikTok, and Xiaohongshu from mainland China. The forum pointed out that Taiwan experienced its first Xiaohongshu fraud case in March, where a woman engaged in online shopping received a request from a buyer to purchase game points. After she delivered the goods through WeChat, her bank account was frozen the next day. The police found that the fraud group had defrauded others, with victims sending money to the fraud group's account, and the fraudsters cashing out to obtain game points. The Mainland Affairs Council stated that similar fraud cases often occur on Douyin and TikTok. Since these social media platforms do not have representative offices in Taiwan, such cases are difficult to investigate and track, and victims find it difficult to recover their losses. The Mainland Affairs Council advises Taiwanese people to remain vigilant and avoid using social media from mainland China. In addition, TikTok announced on April 24 that it would stop the reward function of TikTok Lite. This is because the EU previously believed that the reward function of TikTok Lite could lead to user addiction, and has launched an investigation into TikTok, so TikTok has decided to stop this function. News Report 7. According to Liberty Times, Honduras severed diplomatic ties with Taiwan and established relations with China in June 2023. This has severely impacted Honduras' shrimp industry, as Taiwan is a major importer of Honduran shrimp. With the diplomatic break, Honduras lost its market for exporting shrimp to Taiwan, leading to a crisis in the shrimp industry with 60% of shrimp farms closing down. The termination of the bilateral trade agreement has also resulted in a 20% tariff on Honduran shrimp exports to Taiwan, causing Taiwan to cancel its orders and seek shrimp from other sources. Additionally, Mexico announced the closure of its market to Honduran shrimp, further exacerbating the difficulties in selling Honduran shrimp. The plight of Honduras' shrimp industry has led to the closure of 250 shrimp farms and the loss of thousands of jobs. In the first quarter of 2023, Honduras' foreign trade losses amounted to $20 million, exacerbating unemployment and poverty in the southern region. Despite Honduras sending business representatives to China to explore new markets, Chinese customers have shown interest but have not made actual purchases, failing to revitalize Honduras' shrimp industry. News Report 8. The U.S. Department of Commerce announced on April 24 that it would provide Micron Technology with a $6 billion grant and a $7.5 billion loan to help Micron establish 3 new factories in the United States. 2 of these factories will be located in New York State, while the third will be in Iowa. This government grant will facilitate Micron's future investments of $50 billion over the next 6 years and $125 billion over the next 20 years. These new factories will produce drum chips, with each facility covering 600,000 square feet. U.S. officials stated that Micron's cutting-edge drum chips are the foundation of all advanced technologies. Through this investment, the United States will bring the most advanced drum chip technology back to the country. Previously, the U.S. Congress passed the CHIPS Act in 2022, authorizing the Department of Commerce to provide $39 billion in grants to encourage high-tech industries to establish chip factories in the United States. Micron's grant is the 5th subsidy provided by the United States to chip companies, which does not require repayment, while the loan needs to be repaid, but at a low interest rate. In addition, in March of this year, the U.S. government provided Intel with a $3.5 billion grant and a $11 billion loan. In April, it provided Samsung with a $6.4 billion grant, SK Hynix with a $3.87 billion grant, and TSMC with a $6.6 billion grant. These measures demonstrate the U.S. government's emphasis on and support for the development of the semiconductor industry to ensure America's competitiveness in the global semiconductor market. News Report 9. According to Radio Free Asia, the Beijing International Film Festival opened on April 18, but as of April 22, 5 films have been cancelled due to technical reasons. Officials stated that these cancellations were due to technical issues, but Chinese netizens expressed dissatisfaction with the official explanation and speculated about the reasons for the cancellations. The following are the films that were cancelled and the reasons. April 18, Groundhog, subtitle machine in the Geological Auditorium broke. April 19, Bad Blood, the projection in the information hall was faulty. April 20, Wish You Longer, and City of Deep, the copies were damaged. April 21, The Sunshine of the Crabapple Tree, the encryption key for the Black Cloud was damaged. Netizens questioned the truthfulness of these explanations, believing that testing should have been done before the screenings. Some suspected that the cancellations might be related to the content of the films, especially regarding Wish You Longer, a Hong Kong film, which attracted widespread attention. Some netizens expressed confusion about the reasons for the cancellations, despite having already purchased tickets and looking forward to the screenings. Zhang Ting, an industry insider in Beijing's film industry, said that the chance of such a large-scale international film festival canceling screenings of 5 films due to so-called technical faults is almost zero, implying that there may be other reasons. News Report 10. Daily Economic News reported that the band Mayday announced that they will hold 10 concerts at the Bird's Nest in Beijing from May 18 to June 1. This is Mayday's return to China for concerts after being accused of lip-syncing in Shanghai in December last year. During the Shanghai concert in December, a music blogger accused them of lip-syncing, and the Shanghai Municipal Bureau of Culture and Tourism began investigating the matter, but has not announced the results yet. The Beijing Municipal Bureau of Culture and Tourism stated that Beijing has approved Mayday's concerts and will send law enforcement units to supervise the event. The news of Mayday's concerts in China has sparked enthusiasm among netizens and fans. Industry insiders in the performance market said that as long as Mayday performs, there will definitely be people buying tickets. In China, lip-syncing culture is very common. Some people believe that lip-syncing is because the singers are not talented enough and need to lip-sync to cope with the live audience. However, lip-syncing culture is not common worldwide, and only exists in China. This cultural phenomenon is difficult to understand, as singers should sing. News Report 11. Amnesty International released its 2023 Human Rights Report, which scores the human rights situations in 155 countries, with a special focus on China's human rights issues. The report points out that China has several human rights issues, including restricting people's freedom of speech and assembly under the pretext of national security, severe human rights issues in Xinjiang, destroying minority languages and cultures, suppressing human rights lawyers, citizen journalists, women's rights activists, and the LGBT community, engaging in cross-border suppression of overseas dissenters, and supporting other authoritarian countries in expanding centralized power. These issues are detailed in the report, highlighting China's challenges in the field of human rights. News Report 12. People's Daily reported that recently, hotels in Beijing have stopped requiring guests to use facial recognition for check-in, only requiring them to show their ID cards. Some hotels have even stopped using the cameras of facial recognition systems. China has been promoting facial recognition for check-in since 2017, but this practice has sparked controversies over human rights and privacy. In August 2023, the Cyberspace Administration of China issued the Regulations on the Security Management of Facial Recognition Technology Application, which specifies the legal application scope of facial recognition technology. However, the Chinese government has not issued a unified document to cancel the requirement for facial recognition check-in, but rather has left it to individual cities to inform hotels.